Businessman Peter George talks about the demand for foreign exchange and the black market, as well as the impact crime is having on his businesses and his decision to accept Bitcoin as payment at his Trotter's restaurant. How is the economic slowdown affecting your businesses right now?
Well, certainly last year there was a significant top-line downfall in all the businesses. But luckily for the businesses that we are in, they're normally the last ones to be affected. So people have told me, many different times, boy, I was in Trotters or I was in Movie Town, and where's the recession? You can't see it nowhere. And the point is, that's not where you're going to see it. You're going to see the recession in capital expenditure from the government. You're going to see it in significant cutbacks and capital projects.
When disposable income is reduced, people tend to cut back on how much they spend outside on buying meals. You're not seeing that?
No, we haven't. No, we have, but it has not been an impact that's so severe that it's forced us, at least in our business, to do any kind of cutbacks.
What about prices? Because businesses have been forced to adjust prices for a number of reasons. You have the cost of doing business has gone up if you take into account the crime issue and security costs. If you also take into account the foreign exchange, the fluctuating TT dollar, which has pushed up the cost considerably over the past year or so, how has that affected your prices?
Well, it clearly has. We have not made any meaningful adjustments yet, but the finance team has pretty much raised the white flag now and said we need to do it because it's beginning to affect us significantly as the foreign exchange situation gets worse, and it has gotten worse. And this attempt by the government, this completely futile attempt at supporting the currency, what they have in fact done unwittingly is created a black market. The black market began to get its grip probably middle of last year. And once the black market gets its claws in, that's when you've lost control. And it's pretty much there now because you're talking about a listed rate of 674, 680 or whatever it is. And businesses, certainly importers, are factoring their costs at 730, 740, in some cases even more.
How do you think the government, central bank, Ministry of Finance should be handling the foreign exchange issue?
The government needs to allow the foreign exchange to the market to take it to where the value is. Our currency is significantly overvalued. It's 674. It's an unnatural rate. I can't prognosticate on what the rate ought to be, but one would assume that around $8 or maybe $8.25.
The government's argument is that obviously they're protecting the most vulnerable in society. If the dollar is allowed to further depreciate, then the cost is going to increase the cost of goods.
But they're not. This is when politics and economics collide, right? And the reality is they're not, because what's happening now is, unbeknownst to them, or probably known to them, the prices are going up anyway. We're in a highly inflationary environment simply because, one, is the lack of US funds, two, the black market, and three, the uncertainty. And suppliers are finding all kinds of creative ways to bypass the US situation. So you have this headline figure of 674, but no one's getting US dollars at 674. No supplier is getting it at 674. So what happens is now prices are in effect still going up.
So is it that you think that some businesses already priced their goods at around $8 and we're paying that, but we don't know just yet?
I mightn't say $8, but nobody is pricing goods at 674. I mean, anyone who thinks that is out of their mind. It's just not happening.
You made some comments publicly at a chamber function recently about the impact crime is having on your businesses, and you drew reference specifically to Linda's Bakery, where it's difficult for your employees to simply walk across to the banks to make deposits because of it's not safe right now. How is the crime? What sort of impact are you dealt with?
We spend almost $200,000 a year dropping staff home from here to their doors, simply because it's a night business, right? And there isn't a proper transportation infrastructure, certainly at that time of night. And it's something that needs to be developed simply because a huge swath of our workforce works in this type of industry based on the economic environment. So that's one. Two, certainly with Linda's, and I gave the figure, it's currently threatening $1 million a year in cash in transit fees. And we have stores that are a stone's throw away from banks. But whether or not it's the fact that they cannot walk across the road with the cash, or whether or not other employees will say, hey, you can't do that because something could happen.
You've started to accept a digital currency at Trotters, Bitcoin. Tell me a bit about this and your decision to accept Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin really is the future of money. Or I should say digital currency is the future of money. Bitcoin is an electronically created currency. It's been around probably for about 5 or 6 years. It is not central bank issued. It's not issued or controlled by banks. It is actually what money is supposed to be, which is created and controlled by people.
You're the first local business to accept Bitcoin. Why?
Yes. Well, I am saying we may actually be the first business in the Caribbean to accept Bitcoin. I'm not certain about that. And it really was because of the belief in where Bitcoin is going.
Have you invested in this?
I am an owner of Bitcoin. Yes, I believed in Bitcoin for quite a few years. And when you consider where the banking industry has gone, and you know about the issues recently, and this decision was taken several months ago, before the fuss recently, certainly in Parliament and other areas about bank fees. But the fact that the banking industry, in a sense, needs competition.
It's not regulated in Trinidad and Tobago. So what sort of system do we have?
Well, it's not regulated anywhere. I mean, and I think what's happening now.
And there are issues in some parts of the states where the Securities Exchange Commission obviously had an issue with it there as well.
Well, the point is there's something that an economist called Schumpeter called creative destruction. This is creative destruction. And the point is, invariably, but the difference was what email was to mail and what digital money is to money, the stakes are far higher. Am I saying that in 10 years from now banks won't exist? No. As far as credit, capital, those are the areas where Bitcoin does not really, at least at this time, will not interfere with banking operations.
When we come back, we'll tell you why Simon Hamlet has to hold down 2 jobs to be able to take care of his family. Money Matters will be right back.